Okay, so we will be continuing our discussion on methods for proving triangle. And as I mentioned last time, that these theorems, yung HL congruence theorem that has been previously proved, itong HA congruence theorem, the LL congruence theorem, and the LA congruence theorem are all congruence theorems to prove whether two right triangles are congruent. And these are only used for right triangles. But yung SSS, yung SAS, yung AAS or SAA, at saka yung ASA na tinatawag natin, those are used to prove any two triangles to be congruent. Okay? So let's have an example for this. Okay, given that AB is perpendicular to CD and AC is congruent to AD, we have two things to prove. Let's prove that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ABD, as well as segment CB is congruent to segment DB. So of course, let's already put our identical mark for the congruent parts. So this side is congruent to this side. Okay, let's have our proof. So we have our statements and our reasons. Number one, we know that AB is perpendicular to CD. Okay, this is given. Okay, number two. What do you know about perpendicular lines? You know that they will form a right angle. Okay, so therefore, what can you conclude? What can you conclude? Anyone? Taas ng kamay ha. Figure. What can you conclude? Knowing that AB is perpendicular to CD. Yes, there is a triangle nga, shaky. Kaso nga, what can you conclude? Knowing that AB is perpendicular to CD. Ito pala sa kabila yung aking chat box. If you know that AB is perpendicular to CD, what conclusion can you make? Joseph.
AB is equal to AB.
Joseph.
AB is equal to AB, sir.
AB is equal to AB. Perpendicular lines yan ha. Huwag muna kayong lumayo. Huwag kayong lumayo. You know that it will form a right angle or at least two right angles. So therefore, what? Bakasyon na yung utak ninyo. Ano ba yan? Sige, Calvin.
Sir, try ano? Angle 1 is equal to angle 2, sir.
Angle 1 is equal to angle 2 kagad. Nag-jump up ka na kagad.
Ay, angle 1 and angle 2 form 90 degrees, sir.
Bakit magpo-form? Sabi dito.
Ay, sa right angle pala, sir.
Okay, angle 1 and angle 2 are right angles. Okay? Why? Why? Oh, based on statement number 1. Ano ba yan? Hanggang ngayon hindi pa rin makuha.
Definition of perpendicular line.
Okay, definition of perpendicular lines. Correct. Okay. So, what do you know about right angle? So, ito na yung sinabi mo kanina, Calvin. So, angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Diba? Why? We know that any two right angles are congruent. Okay? So, we have already shown that these are congruent already. What's next? What's next? Sige nga, based on the given figure, what information can you get based on the figure? Lagi na lang si Calvin. What about the others? K. K. Sige, Shecky.
AB, segment AB is congruent to segment AB po.
Okay, segment AB is congruent to segment AB. Why, Shecky?
Reflexive property of congruency, RPC po.
That's correct. Okay, number 4, RPC. Okay, we have already shown that these are true. True na yan. Okay, congruent na siya. Then what's next? Let's include now our given. For number 5, ilagay na natin yung given natin. Ano yung given natin sa number 5? AC is congruent to AB. Okay? So that's our given. Okay. Ito na. So, alam nyo na congruent si AB, ito, tsaka ito. So, actually, I will introduce to you. I will introduce to you. We can now conclude that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ABD. Why? Because, ito, introduction ko sa inyo to ha. We have the SSA, congruence postulate. Okay, SSA congruence postulate. This postulate is actually conditional. I write it here. It's a conditional postulate. Conditional postulate. You cannot always use this postulate. Okay? Is that clear? And the angle here is non-included. O para siyang yung SAS, pero yung SAS kasi included, ito naman ay non-included. Okay? Again, I will repeat, it's a conditional postulate. Hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon lalabas yan. Nagkataon lang na yung triangle natin ay magkadikit. Okay? So, pwede nyo magamit si SSA, but it is not always the case. That's why it's called conditional postulate. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes po.
And then we're able to prove that the triangle is congruent. Then definitely we can now say that segment CB is congruent to segment DB. Okay? This is by CPCPC. Okay? Question. Sabi sa inyo ako lagi akong handa pag pumapasok sa inyo. Okay, let's talk about the Pythagorean Theorem. This is not a stranger topic to you because this has been introduced already. Yung iba nga sa inyo, alam nang sagutan yung nasunod sa PS. But again, let us touch this because it's part of our lesson. So the Pythagorean Theorem says that the square of the length of the hypotenuse of a right triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of its two legs. That is, we say that C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is we're going to prove. Okay? So, the proof of the Pythagorean Theorem. So, first is that we're going to prove it inductively. Malay nyo, may mga estudyante kayo later on magtanong kung ano ang paano nagiging yan. Bakit naging ganyan yung formula? C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. This is based on my experience. Isipin nyo lang perfect na yan na sign. Okay, so say for example, we have here a right triangle with lengths 3 units. Lagay ko sa loob. 4 units and 5 units. Okay. So, if we are to extend, each side of the triangle such that we will come up with a square. So, say for example, this. Extend natin ito dito. Okay. Extend natin. Ito naman, extend natin. Extend. And then we extend this one. Dapat palang niliitan ko yun. Square yan ha, square. Okay. So, we know that a square has 4 equal sides. Diba? Basically, we know that a square has 4 equal sides. So, for us to determine the area of a square, diba? How do we get the area of a square? The area of a square is equal to side squared. Tama? Tama?
Opo.
So that means 3 times 3. So 3 by 3 here. Meron kayong 3 dito. Meron kayong 3. Okay, meron kayong 4 dito. May 4 dito. May 4 dito. Meron kayong 5. 5 here and 5 here. Because all sides are equal. So ang idea of the area is the number of square units. So the number of square units. If I am to get the number of square units for this area. 2, 3. Okay. And then I have here 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that's 9 square units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 square units. Correct? Correct?
Yes, sir.
So I have here 1. Kunyari perfect na lang ha. Medyo mahirap kasi. 2, 3, 4. And then I have here 1, 2. Yan. Then I have here 4 times 4 is 16 square units, correct? Then finally, we'll have 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then, I have here 1. Yun yung idea ng square units ha, ng area ha. 2, 3. Kukulangin nata ako. 4, 5. Okay na yan. Okay. Now, so if I will ask you, how many square units are there for the first length? Halimbawa ito. How many square units does this square have? How many?
9, sir.
9. Okay, 9 children. Okay, there are 9. What about this?
Yay!
How many? Uy, ang ganda pang demo nito. Akala nyo ba?
16 po. Ay,
16. Okay.
tama nga.
Correct? And then this
Yes,
one,
sir.
how many?
25.
25. Okay,
Yay!
now, okay, children, what is the relationship between the number of squares, ito yung mga tanong dyan eh, the number of squares of this side to the squares of these legs? Sige nga.
When you add the
When you add the, sige,
9 and 16, sir, is equal to the length of 25.
that's correct. Thank you, Bane. Alak magiging banok ka na eh. So we say that 25 is equal to 9 plus 16. Tama? Tama po ba? Tama? Or we can
Apo.
say that this is just 5 squared is equal to 3 squared plus 9 squared, 9 squared, 4 squared, correct?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Opo.
sir.
This is 4 squared. Ganda pang demo to ha. So if we are to represent each side as a variable, say for example, the longest side would be C. Okay, the shorter leg is A, and the longer leg is B. Then by substituting it to our relationship, o hindi pa yung formula ha, ang tawag dyan ay relationship, then we have now C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Okay? Naintindihan?
Yes po.
Okay, next. This is the formula for the proof. For intuitive proof ha, let's have our intuitive. Pag dinemo niyan, maganda yan. Okay, next. Tapos i-apply ninyo. And then, what about the algebraic proof? Let's have the algebraic proof. Papakitaan ko ng dalawa para naman masaya kayo. Okay. Hindi na kayo lugi yan sa akin. No? So first is that let's draw a square. A square. Kasi nga, we are talking about square. Diba? So square ang drawing natin. So from that square, I'm going to draw another square that is inside this square. Isipin nyo na lang perfect na. Okay. Now, okay. So since we have a smaller square with sides C, mas makulay para mas makulay ang buhay, sabi niya. Sa sinabawang gulay. So C. Okay? So that's the area for our square with length C. Then if we are to notice as well that we have here how many triangles? How many triangles? 4.
Apat po.
Okay, we have 4 triangles. So say for example, I'm going to rename the shorter leg, itong leg na to, shorter leg as A, and the longer leg as B. So the shorter leg and the longer leg as B. So we know that this is a right angle yan, kasi yan ay square. Later on sa chapter 4, malalaman niyo yun. Right angle. So naming the shorter leg as A. So yung mga A natin dyan, shorter leg yan. Okay. Shorter leg. And our longer leg is B. Let's name it as B. B. Okay? So, ito na tayo. What is the formula for finding the area of a square nga ulit? So, area is equal to side squared. Tama? Tama po ba?
Yes
Opo.
po. Yes, sir.
Okay, now. So, if I am to get the area of the larger square, itong malaking square na to, what is the length or what is the length of the side? Sige nga. What is the length of this? What is the length? Ha? So, lagyan natin ha. So, length or area of the outer square na lang tawag natin. Outer square. Okay. So, malaman nyo muna syempre yung length, yung side niyan. So, paano nyo kinuha yung side? Ang side natin dyan is, diba, i-combine nyo lang tong dalawa. Diba, ito yan oh. Ipa-plus nyo lang yan. A plus B, tama? Yan yung side niya, diba? Side is equal to A plus B. Tama po ba?
Opo.
Opo.
Tama? Okay, next. And then, the formula for finding the area of a triangle. Okay, area of a square to. The area for finding the area, the formula for finding the area of a triangle is what? Naalala niyo pa ba ng elementary kayo? We have 1/2 base times
height.
height. Okay, 1/2 base times height. Now, so if we are to get the area of the inner square, Oy, ano ba yun? Inner square is what? Is C, tama? Side is equal to C, tama? Tama po ba?
Yes,
Opo.
sir.
So, ang area nito, itong isa, so S squared implies that I have A plus B, quantity squared. Tama po ba? Tama po ba?
Opo.
Yes, sir.
Next, the area of this is S squared implies that I have C squared. Tama po ba?
Opo.
Okay, next. The area of triangle. Ilan yung triangles natin?
4.
Area of triangle. So, 4. So, ibig sabihin, that's 4 times the area. Tama? That's 4 times the area. Tama po ba?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Meaning to say, I have 4 times 1/2 of, ano yung base natin dyan? Pwedeng kahit ano dyan actually. Pwedeng A, pwedeng H, yung H nyo ay maging B, kahit saan dyan, pareho lang naman yan. Which is actually, this is 2AB. Tama po ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 2AB. Now, notice that, notice that itong area po ng malaking square ay pareho lang ng area ng small square, tama? At saka yung area ng 4 na triangle. Can you follow? Diba? Area ng big square. O, lagyan natin ng area. Outer square. So, outer square OS is just the same as the area of the inner square plus the area of 4 triangles. Tama? Tama? Uy,
Opo, sir.
Opo, sir.
okay. So, by substitution, o i-plug in natin. So, i-plug in natin. Yung area, tayo sa kabila. Yung area po ng big square ay A plus B quantity squared, which is yung small square ay C squared plus 2AB. Can you follow? Can you follow?
Yes po.
So,
Opo.
and then, expanding yung A plus B quantity squared, that is, square the first term plus multiply the first term by the second term times 2 is 2AB. And then square the last term is B squared. Can you follow? Which is equal to C squared plus 2AB. Tama po ba? Tama po ba?
Opo.
Yes, sir.
And then we can cancel out 2AB. Diba? Tama?
Opo.
So that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, or by symmetric property, c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. Okay? Naintindihan?
Opo.
Yes po.
Yes po.
O, ayan ha. Kaya pag tanong kayo mga estudyante ninyo, dapat alam nyo nang sagutin ha. Tungal-ngal nyo sa kanila yan. Okay. So, in relation to the Pythagorean Theorem, of course, we recall our square root property. So, square root property suggests that if x represent the length of a line segment and that p represent a positive number, then x squared is equal to p. Then, if x squared is p, then x is equal to positive negative to ha. It's positive negative square root of p. But of course, since we are talking about the length of a line segment, what we are trying to get is the principal root. Okay, the principal root. Ibig sabihin, yung positive square root. Okay? O, sa algebra nyo yan. Okay, dapat alam niyo yung mga tawag dyan. The principal root, ha? Kasi length, wala naman tayong negative na length. So we get the principal root. Okay? Can you follow?
Opo.
Ito na. So find the length of the third side of the right triangle. If C is equal, find C if A is equal to 6 and B is equal to 8. Ito yakan na ito eh. For letter A, C is unknown. And then A is 6. A is 6 and B is equal to 8. So we know that C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. You need to show it to your students first. And then deriving a formula for finding the value of C. We have C is equal to the square root of A squared plus B squared. So papapansin ninyo, wala na kayong ano dyan, positive negative. Kasi nga, kinukuha natin dyan yung length. And it should always be positive. Tandaan nyo ha, sabihin nyo sa mga estudyante nyo yan. So that would be what? By substitution, we have 6 squared plus 8 squared. We have here the square root of 36 plus 64 is equal to the square root of 100. And therefore, C is equal to C is equal to 10. Okay? For letter B, ang nawawala dyan ay yakang-yakan na to. A is equal to 7 and C is equal to 10. What is unknown is B. So using our formula, we know that C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Sabihin sa mga estudyante nyo, we'll derive a formula so that we can find the value of B in our formula. C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. So the law of transposition suggests that we have B squared is equal to C squared minus A squared. Diba? And then, extracting the square roots of both sides of the equation, what we have is B is equal to the square root of C squared minus A squared. And by substitution, what we have there is 10 squared minus 7 squared. So we have 100 minus 49 is what? How many? 51. 51. Are there factors of 51 wherein 1 is a perfect square root? Meron ba? Meron bang factor ang 51 wherein 1 is a perfect square root? Yes or no?
Wala po.
Wala. Wala. So letter B. So okay na ako dyan. Sa final answer ninyo dun sa mga tawag nito, sa mga PS ninyo, ayoko makakita ng decimals dun ha. Gusto ko makakita ng ganito, halimbawa. Siyempre ganito yan, halimbawa meron kayong what is 49? What is 49 times 2? 98, tama? 98. Diba? Halimbawa, ganyan, 98. Makakita na kayong ganyan. Ayoko ng decimal ha. Halimbawa, ang papakita nyo sa akin dyan ay 7 point something. Diba? Ganyan. Ayoko niyan. Ang magiging sagot nyo ganito. Ha? Kasi para ma-recall nyo yung algebra ninyo, mga inday, mga indoy. Okay? So, you think a factor of 98, which is a perfect square. So, we know that 98 is 49 times 2. Tama? Tama po ba?
Yes
And
po.
then,
Yes, sir.
we know that, recall tayo, recall, ha? Recall. Kunyari, na-recall ninyo. If I have the square root of AB, then it is just square root of A times square root of B. Ito yan. Ito si A, ito si B. So we have square root of 49 times square root of 2. So square root of 49 is 7 square root of 2. Dapat ganyan ang sagot ninyo, ha? Naintindihan?
Opo.
Okay.
Opo.
Para ma-recall ang algebra, para gumaling. Walang gagamit ng cycle. Okay. So let's talk about isosceles triangles. So first is that we know that basically, if we have an isosceles triangle, isosceles triangle. Let's name this one as triangle JAN, January. Okay. So triangle JAN. So given that triangle JAN is an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle. Tsaka yun. Okay. So if that's an isosceles triangle, these are the parts of an isosceles triangle. Number 1, yung tinatawag nating vertex angle. Okay. The vertex angle is angle A. Dapat alam niyo yung mga parts, ha? Number 2, the legs. Ano yung legs? Of course, the congruent parts. JA, segment JA, and segment
And
NJ. Okay, JA and NJ. Correct correspondence pa rin, ha? NA, not applicable. And then we also have our base, which is segment JN. And finally, number 4, we have our base angles, which is angle J and angle N. Can you follow?
Opo.
Okay? So,
Okay,
ito na
sir.
naman. Tuloy natin to. So, given that, ito ha. Ito na naman. Para sa proving na naman to. Given that triangle JAN is an isosceles triangle, what can you conclude? You can conclude that JA is congruent to NA.
NA.
Okay, reason. What is the reason? This is definition of an isosceles triangle. Can you follow? Can you
Opo,
follow?
sir.
Opo, sir.
Tandaan nyo yun, ha? Basta ito lagi yung statement po, statement. Statement ito statement. Okay? Statement 1 yan, halimbawa. Statement 2 yan. Ito yung reason. Di ba? Reason number 2, dapat to. Reason number 2. Kasi given yung number 1 Diba? Dapat yung pagkakasunod-sunod ba? Yung logical order na tinatawag. Alam niyo. Okay. So there are terms that you need to be mindful of because they play an important role in terms of triangles. We have number 1, the median of a triangle. The median of a triangle is a line segment that connects one vertex of a given triangle to the midpoint of a side opposite that vertex. Tandaan yung mga definitions na yan, ha? So we say in triangle, okay, in triangle ABC, AM, segment AM is the median. Okay? So therefore, conclusion given to have, ayusin natin para yung pagaya yung sa, para sa proving. Ganun pa rin. Given. Okay. AM is the median of triangle ABC. So what can you conclude based on the definition? What can you conclude? Sabi dyan, it should, ano bang ginagawa ni median daw? It passes through the midpoint of the side opposite the vertex. So, dumaan siya sa point M. So, ang ginagawa ng midpoint, it bisects the side into two congruent segments, di ba? So, we say that BM is congruent to segment MC. Okay? Reason, definition of median
Median.
of a triangle. Okay? Ayan na. Next, the perpendicular bisector. O, ito na. Perpendicular na siya, at the same time, bisector pa. So, alam naman na ninyo kapag may perpendicular line, so, magbubuo siya ng right angle, di ba? There exists a right angle. Tama? So, yun yung una. Pangalawa, bisector pa siya. So, meaning to say, i-divide niya pa yung segment into two congruent segments. So, the perpendicular bisector of a triangle is a line that is perpendicular to one side of a triangle and to the midpoint of that side. So, ganito ang itsura niyan. So, given tayo ulit. Given. Line AF, FM pa lang. Line FM is a perpendicular bisector of triangle ABC. Okay, reason, conclusion. Conclusion, what does it do? Number one, anong first conclusion yan? Angle FMC and angle
FAB.
FMB.
FAB.
Anong FAB?
Ay, FMB sa.
Are right angles. That's the first conclusion. Second conclusion is that BM, segment BM is congruent to segment MC. Tandaan yan, ha? So, reason, definition of,
Perpendicular bisectors.
yan, perpendicular. Active ngayon si Kirk, ha? Bisectors. Madadrop na kasi. Ayan, active si Kirk. Okay. Okay? Next, finally, the altitude. Okay, or the altitude or the height of a triangle is a line segment that is drawn from a vertex that is perpendicular to a side opposite that vertex. So, para lang ganito. Para siyang median, pero hindi siya dumadaan sa midpoint. At the same time, para rin siyang perpendicular bisector, pero hindi rin siya dumadaan sa midpoint. Nagkakaintindihan, that is the altitude. Kasi perpendicular siya, ibig sabihin magpo-form siya ng right angle. Okay? So, given AE is the altitude of triangle ABC. So, what reason can we get? Conclusion muna. What conclusion can we get? If that's an altitude, then we can say, based on the definition, that AE is perpendicular to BC. Okay? Reason, definition of an altitude of a triangle. Okay? Naintindihan? May dagdag na naman kayong mga definition ha. From time to time, madagdagan yung definition ninyo, tsaka yung mga theorems, tsaka postulates ninyo. Okay. So it said here that each triangle has 3 altitudes, one from each vertex. Ano ba itsura ng mga altitudes niyan? It could either be if ganito oblique yung ating triangle, parang pag ganito yung tsura ng triangle natin. Sa labas kayo ngayon pwedeng maggawa ng altitude. So that's 1. Okay? 1 na yan. So pwede kayo mag-construct dito 2. Then pwede kayo rin dito. Ito. 3. Altitude. Then din dito rin. Kapag ganito naman yung triangle ninyo, you will notice makakapag-form kayo dito ng ng point. Sa higher mathematics, tawag nito sa pag nag-masters kayo, may tawag dito. Kaso ayaw kong sabihin sa inyo ngayon dahil hindi pa naman kayo mag-MA. Okay? Having said that, there is a theorem that we need to prove. It said that corresponding altitudes of congruent triangles are congruent. So if we have 2 triangles, namely, let's say for example, mag-drawing tayo ulit ng triangle. So tayo proving ngayon mga inday tsaka mga indoy. So expect ninyo yung susunod na PS ninyo, puro mga proving din ha. Baka mahimatay kayo eh. Kaya binibigyan ko na kayo ng idea. Ang pangit. Bumulas yung kamay ko eh. Sorry. Let's name this one as triangle RTU, your alma mater. Okay. So, write natin ang given natin. Given, of course, triangle ABC. Sabi niyan, congruent triangle. So, therefore, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle RTU. Sa midterm/summative test ninyo, meron kayong theorem na ipoprove ha. Hindi kayong gagawa ng ganito. Naulit ko ha. And then, BP, segment BP, and segment PP, mag-aral na kayo, are altitudes. Okay. Let's prove that BP is congruent to segment PP. Okay. Okay. Let's have our proof. We have our statements and our reasons. Ewan ko lang, hindi pa kayo mas maumay sa kakaprove natin. Kailan na tayo? Chapter 3. So again, yung given ulit natin, ganyan yung given natin. Unahin natin yung pangalawa. BP and TP. BP ba? BD. Here. BD. Okay. So BD and TP are altitudes. Okay, number 1, given. Okay. Ilan lang nakabukas ang camera sa inyo ha? Si John May lang, si Calvin, si Sheki, OMG, si Nino. Yun lang ulit, si Nelia, si Anthony at saka si Jude lang. What about the others? Okay. Calvin pa pala. Sorry. Okay. So what do you know about number 2? O, balikan niyo yung number 2. Tingnan yung number 2 natin. Ginawa natin dyan. O, di ba? If this is altitude, we know that meron tayong perpendicular lines. Di ba? So, yan gagawin natin dyan ngayon. So that from the given figure, BD is perpendicular to AC. Okay? BD is perpendicular to AC and TP is perpendicular to RU. Ano natin? Tama. Okay. Number 2, this is definition of an altitude.
Altitude of a right angle.
Right ba? O ba
Ay,
triangle?
apa angle pala.
Okay? O, ito na. Ito yung kaninang ginawa natin. Pag merong perpendicular lines, anong mabubuo natin? Makakabuo tayo ng right angle.
Right.
Tama? So, I can say that angle BDA and angle TPR are right angles. This is definition of perpendicular line. Okay? So, if I have already two right angles, then I can say that angle BDA is congruent to angle PPR. Okay, why? Lagay nyo ulit. Any two right angles are congruent. Okay? That clear? So, ano na tayo dito? Maglagay na tayo dito. Congruent na daw yan. Ano ang pwede nyo pang ma-conclude? Ito na. Gawa na tayo dito. Meron na tayo makikita dito. Number 5. Lagyan na natin yung triangle natin. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle RTU. Okay? Number 5 given. Okay. So since triangle RTU is congruent to triangle ABC, then may nakita na tayong congruent na triangle, di ba? Oh. So by CP-CTC, ano ang pwede natin ma-conclude? Sabi dyan, ABC is congruent to angle RTU. So by CP-CTC, I can say that itong part na to ay congruent sa part na to. Tama? Tama?
Yes, sir.
Angle A is congruent to angle R. Okay, kasi parts niyan. Di ba sabi natin kapag congruent na yung dalawang triangle, it follows that its corresponding parts are congruent. Okay, next. So since congruent na ito, my dear students, ito daw ay congruent na dito. Ano pa ang pwede nating ma-conclude dyan? Pwede natin sabihin din as well na etong side na to ay congruent din dito. Tama? Kasi yan ay part ng ABC. Tama po ba? Tsaka RTU. Tama po ba?
Opo.
Sir.
Okay. Ano yan? Segment. Ayan, segment AB.
AB.
Sorry. Ito pala lagyan natin dito. Segment AB is congruent to segment RT. Okay? So that, tingnan ninyo. Yung figure natin. Meron na kayong dalawang angle na congruent at saka non-included side. So, pwede na ba natin masabi that triangle, anong triangle na yun? Triangle, ito congruent, ito tama. Itong angle na to, congruent din dito, tama? Angle na yan, di po ba? Tsaka ito, side ito, which is non-included. Tsaka ito, non-included. So I can say that itong triangle na to ay congruent sa triangle na to. Can you follow?
Yes, sir.
So triangle BDA is congruent to triangle TPR. Okay, that is side angle or Angle side congruence theorem. O, tignan nyo ha, ginagamit natin yung mga pinag-aaralan natin. And therefore, since that's already congruent, congruent na itong triangle na to, ano yung pinaprove natin? Pansin nyo, itong side na to, itong BD, itong BD ay side ng triangle ABD. Tama? Itong RTP ay side din ng triangle. Itong TP ay side ng triangle RTP. Okay? So napakita na natin na itong dalawang triangle na to ay congruent. Therefore, it follows that itong side na to, which are corresponding parts of triangle ABD and triangle RTP respectively, are also congruent. Okay? So therefore, we are able to show that BD is congruent to segment TP by CPCTC. Okay? And we're able to show that it's true. Okay, next, another theorem. Puro tayo theorem. Ito medyo maigsi lang naman to. The bisector of the angle of an isosceles triangle separates the triangle into two congruent triangles. So if we have a triangle, bisector daw. Isosceles rather, sorry. Isosceles pala ito. So, we have RTU, your alma mater. Then we have here P. Okay. So, given triangle RTU is an isosceles triangle. Okay. Let's prove. Ano yung pinaprove natin? Yung bisector of the angle separates the triangle into two congruent triangles. Let's prove that triangle RTP, triangle nga, is congruent to triangle UTP. Can you follow? Okay. That's our proof. Naantok ako. Medyo puwet ako. Nag-ML ako kagabi. Na-miss ko mag-ML. Sana nami-miss. Okay. We have triangle RTU is an isosceles triangle. Of course, that's given. Number 2, what do you know about isosceles triangle? Ginawa na natin yan kanina. The two sides are congruent. So we have RT is congruent to UT. Tama? O, yan. Okay. Definition of an isosceles triangle. Okay, congruent na tayo dyan, stop na tayo dyan. Meron na tayong side. Side. Okay, next. Number 3. What information can you get? May kulang tayo dito. TP, given. TP bisects angle RTU. Lagyan natin yan. Kasi wala tayong makuha. TP bisects angle RTU. Kapag mayroong bisector ng angle, you know that it divides the angle into two congruent angles. Diba? Hindi mo na ako siya nagpapareset ngayon kasi nagmamadali ako. Meron pa akong 100 slides chart. Given. Okay? As I mentioned, that TP bisects RTU and it divides the the angle which is RTU into two congruent angles. So we have RTP. So angle RTP is congruent to angle UTP. UTP. Okay. This is definition of angle bisectors. Tama? Good.
Opo.
Okay,
Yes,
next.
sir.
Number 5. Oh, so meron na tayong angle dito. Tingnan niyo ha. May angle na congruent. So ano na lang yung kulang na information natin para masabi natin that the two triangles are congruent. Ito na lang. Ito na lang. Tama?
Side na lang.
Correct. Side na lang. Diba? Ito na lang. Side or angle. Pero obviously, sa figure natin, itong side ang kailangan natin. Tama? Which is TP in that case. Tama po ba?
Opo.
TP is congruent to itself. So it is
RP.
RPC. And finally, meron na tayong side. O, di ba? Tsaka itong angle natin na ito ay included. O, so therefore, we can now say that triangle RTP is congruent to triangle UTP. Di ba? By what congruence postulate?
AS po.
SAS.
SAS. That's correct. Congruence postulate. Tapos na. QED na tayo dyan. Okay? Another theorem.
Sakit, sir.
Yun talaga. Yun yung lesson natin eh. Ano tayong magagawa dyan? Ito kasi sa triangles, puro proving to eh. Kahit dun sa next natin, yung chapter 4, puro proving din. Pero magbibigay ako ng application para hindi naman kayo mahimatay. Tawag ito sa mga problem sets ninyo, pwedeng mga application doon kasi i-apply niyo yung natutunan niyo. Pero sabi ko nga sa inyo, since college kasi kayo, kaya dapat mas malalim yung ninyo, discussion ninyo kasi ituturo niyo sa estudyante, kailangan mas malalim ang alam niyo sa kanila. Okay? Hindi kayo magpapayag dapat na magpatalo kayo sa mga estudyante kasi estudyante lang yung mga yan. Kagaya ko, wala nga namang talunin niyo ako, no? OMG. Kahit magpatong-patong pa yung mga otak ninyo, hindi niyo ko kayang talunin. Okay? Especially kapag itong subject na to ang pinag-uusapan. Marami kayong kakaining bigas na bago niyo ko talunin. Kahit siguro mag-PhD na kayo ng kagaya ko mathematics. Siyempre yung experience ko, hindi niyo kayang tawaran. Okay. Pagod na ako. Papareport ko nga rin kaya ito pa. Okay. If two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite these sides are also congruent. Ito yung actually can be renamed as base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. O yan ha, yan ipoprove natin na theorem. Base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. So if we have an isosceles triangle, let's say M, A, E. Okay? Sabi dyan, two sides of a triangle are congruent. So, dapat ito daw ay congruent dito. Then, ang pinaprove natin dyan, itong angle daw na ito, at saka yung angle na ito, they are congruent. Okay? So, how do we do that? Madali lang yan. So, given triangle MAE is an isosceles triangle. Okay, let's prove that angle M is congruent to angle E. Okay, let's have our proof. Medyo mahaba pala ito. Maiksi lang. number statements, our reasons. We have number 1. Of course, given ulit yan, triangle. MAE. Tatanggalin ko sa ano ha, sa summative test ninyo yung ano, yung given. Lahat ng given, tanggalin mo. Walang points, ibig sabihin. Is an isosceles triangle. Para masaya. Walang challenge, hindi ganito challenge. Given. Okay? O, alam niyo natin yan that based on the given, MA is congruent to EA. Okay? Number 2. So that's definition of an isosceles triangle. Okay? So stop na tayo dyan. So wala na tayong makukuhang ano, wala na tayong makuhang information, di ba? But, meron tayong but. Balikan natin yung dati nating ano, ginawa. We can actually draw an auxiliary line from the vertex angle, which is A, such that, let's name this one as T. Such that AT bisects angle A. Okay? Draw, lagyan natin to na. Draw, number 3. Draw a bisector of angle A. Anong reason natin dyan? There is only one bisector of an angle. Okay? So since AT is the bisector of an angle A, ibig sabihin, so we know that it divides the angle into congruent angles. So we have angle MAT is congruent to angle EAT. Okay, that is definition of angle bisectors. Okay, and number 5, alam na natin may congruent na tayo dito. Ito, tsaka ito congruent na siya, di po ba? So, ganun ulit. Ito na ulit. We can say that AT is congruent to segment AT itself. Number 5, that is RPC. Okay, for number 6, we know that, alam niyo na kagad, this is congruent to this one. So, pwede natin sabihin that triangle MAT is congruent to triangle EAT. Diba? This is SAS. Tama?
Opo.
And finally, dahil congruent na yung triangles, we can now conclude that angle A is congruent to, angle M rather, angle M is congruent to angle A. This is CPCPC. Can you follow? Oh! Can you follow?
Yes, sir.
Yes po.
Kaya, ito na. Ito yung exciting part. Ito yung hinantay ninyo. Yan. Yan yung hinantay nyo. Pang kinder. Sige guys, pang kinder yan. Sige, sagutan natin. Find the size of each angle of the isosceles triangle. If the measure of angle 1 is 36. Okay. Mag-drawing muna tayo ng triangle. Of course, dahil muna tayong triangle. Okay, let's say this is angle 1, this is angle 2, and this is angle 3. And sabihin natin this is congruent to this side. Para alam natin na isosceles triangle yan. Kahit walang name. Okay. So for letter A, ano yun? The measure of angle 1 is equal to 36. But we know that the sum of the interiors of a triangle is 180, di ba? So we know that measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 is equal to 180. Tama po ba? But we also know that the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 3. Can you follow? Can you follow?
Yes po.
So I can just write this one as the measure of angle 1 plus twice the measure of angle 2 or twice the measure of angle 3 is equal to 180. Tama? So by substitution, I have 36 okay, plus twice the measure of angle 2 is 2 times the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180. I have 2 times the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180 minus 36 is what?
144.
Okay. Galing ang active niyo. 144. And dividing both sides by 2, then the measure of angle 2 is
72.
72. Okay? 72. So therefore, the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 3 is also 72. 72. Okay? Naintindihan po ba?
Yes po.
Okay, next. Next is letter B. Letter B natin. The measure of each base angle is 5 degrees less than twice the measure of the vertex angle. So let x be the measure of the vertex angle. Tama? And, ang sabi dyan, yung base angles daw is 5 less than twice the measure of the vertex angle. So how are we going to represent each measure of the base angles? How are we going to represent the base angle?
2x minus 5.
That's correct. 2x minus 5. So let x be and then 2x minus 5 be the measure of the base angle. Angle lang, hindi angles. But we know that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 is equal to 180. Tama? And then, since we know that angle 2 and angle 3 are base angles, and we can say that I have measure of angle 1 is x plus, this is 2x minus 5 plus 2x minus 5 is equal to 180. Or, yung kagaya ginawa natin kanina dito sa letter A, x is x plus 2 times 2x minus 5, di ba? Is equal to 180. Then, distribute natin yung 2. What we have is x plus 4x minus 10 is equal to 180. Can you follow? Then I have here 5x is equal to 190. Tama? Tama?
Opo.
Opo.
And x is equal to divide.
38, sir.
Ha?
38 po.
38. Okay, this is the measure of our vertex angle. 38. For the base angles, okay, for the base angles, we have 2x minus 5, okay, is equal to 2 times 38 minus 5 is what?
21.
Ilan?
21, sir.
71?
76 po pala. Minus
Oh.
5. 70. 2x minus 5 is equal.
2 times
71, sir.
O kaya nga, 71. Kaya nga kinuha ko sa inyo eh. Okay, 71. Each, ha? Each base angle. Okay? Ayan na. Diba, ang dali? Oh, may theorem na naman tayo. Pero hindi natin ito ipoprove nga because I'm going to give this one to you as an exercise. Okay? Ano to? Ito yung converse ng theorem na prove natin kanina. Itong isa. So, yan. If the two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite these sides are also congruent. Ito naman yung converse niyan. Balik rin naman natin. Ay, not actually converse. Ito naman yung sides naman ang congruent given congruent angles. Okay? Yan. Ipoprove nyo yan, ha? And also, we have a corollary which suggests that an equilateral triangle is also an equiangular triangle. Tandaan yan. And an equiangular triangle is also an equilateral triangle. Okay? Question. Question.
Sir, may tanong ako, sir.
Sige. Calvin.
Yung ano po ba, SSA congruence postulate po, pwede po siya maging HL yung ano, sir?
Pwede siyang maging
Parang-
HL provided that it is right triangle. Sige, balikan natin yung sinabi mo kanina. Sige. Ngayon kanina. Sa example yun, di ba? Sino ba yun? Ito yun, di ba? Ito yun, tama?
Opo.
So, sige. So, tawag nito. Pwede yan. Pwede rin ganito. Sige. Leg, di ba ito ay leg kasi yun eh. HL is hypotenuse leg. Di ba? O, pwede. Pwede. Hypotenuse leg. Si hypotenuse ang congruent tapos isang leg. So, HL. O, sige, gawin natin sa HL para, or, para din na kayo mag-SSA. Okay. Pero at least pinakita ko sa inyo na meron tayong SSA ha, which is conditional. Can you follow? Thank you.
Opo.
Thank you, Calvin. Yung mga ganung mga tanong, pwede. So, HL. Okay. Hypotenuse leg. Congruence. Okay. Postulate ba yan o theorem? Theorem.
Theorem.
Okay. At least mayroon kayong application, di ba? Ayan. Okay. Okay. Thank you. May question pa? May question pa? Speak or forever be silent. Tawag nito. Medyo mabigat talaga yung lesson. Wala na bang tanong?
Wala na ata, sir eh.
Wala na. Okay, so dahil wala nang tanong, mag-i-end na ako ng record.